The very first thing that I like to say to people who are coming here to help us is thank you. Because without volunteers that come and help us, we could not do our classes. Now, horse leaders are all well and good, but if we don't have sidewalkers to be with students who have to have sidewalkers, we don't have a horse for them, even if we've got a horse leader. So the sidewalkers can be a real crucial part of the program because some of the students need two. Some of them can get by with one, some of them cannot, and then some don't use one at all. But if we have a student that needs to have sidewalkers and there isn't a sidewalker here, that child cannot ride. So that's, you know, when you get it down to it, this is really a very critical part of what we do. I'm going to go over a few things that you do and things that you don't do. The things that the sidewalker does, your most important thing is making sure that your student is safe. So that's number one. So you can alert the horse leader or the instructor if there seems to be an issue. If the student is not staying up on the horse right and you can't get them to stay there, ask the instructor to help. If they're moving around and it's getting to where they could maybe fall off, make sure you tell the horse leader to stop and then get the instructor over there. Or get the student to the instructor, whichever works. Perhaps your student might not be feeling well, and so you have to you might need to have them gotten off the horse quickly because they're not well, and so you need to get the instructor over to help you with that. So if you have a student that's off balance or any of these things, you can try to get them back up, but if you're not able to do it, always make sure you can get to the instructor or get the instructor to you to help you with things like that. You can help keep their feet in the stirrups, you know, all of those things, help them holding their reins. Basically making sure that they're safe. The other thing that you're in the arena for is to help assist the instructor with the students. So maybe the instructor has said certain things that they want to have that student do for the day, then it's up to the sidewalkers to help follow through with that part. Or like today, some of you were watching, we were working on the pattern. So the sidewalkers can help the student weave through the pattern or go over the different things that they're supposed to. So you can, if they're getting lost, then you can help direct them into the right direction. There are a few things that we do not like our sidewalkers to do. One of them is if you have a student on board, you do not open or close a gate. Again, your job is student, and you need to stay with your student, and that means not doing other things. You do not adjust the stirrups. You do not adjust the girths. That is entirely up to the instructor. If you see that there's an issue, you make sure that the instructor is made aware of it so that they can fix it. You do not help mounting and dismounting unless you are asked to perhaps hold onto the saddle or to the stirrup on one side, on the far side of the saddle if we don't happen to have an offside person. Or you might have to help get a leg over the back end of the saddle while they're getting off. Otherwise, you don't do any of the mounting or dismounting, and the student is not to get on or off the horse without the instructor there. So if we're lined up for dismount, you have to keep your student on board until the instructor gets there. And if they are antsy ones, then you've got to ask the instructor to please take your student off first. Because otherwise they tend to bail now and again. The other thing is you don't do anything with the horse. We really don't like you even petting, holding, you know, any of the things that are going to be distracting to the horse. When you think about a horse as being a prey animal, they are uncomfortable with a lot of stuff going, you know, if they're tight in. So you've got a horse leader in front, a student on top, and maybe two sidewalkers here and the horse in the center. Anything excess that you do to the horse is going to cause them an issue. And when you think about if a horse can feel a fly on the back of their leg, they can feel you holding onto the saddle, or they can feel you touching them or pushing on them, and that gives them directions that they shouldn't be getting at that time. So just try to keep your hands off the horse. And sometimes I know that's hard. We like to give them pets and hugs, but The other thing that we do not do here is we do not walk behind the horse. So if you are coming out to the arena, you'll go to your sides. If you have to change sides perhaps, sometimes your arm will get tired if you've got a taller horse and a therapeutic hold, and halfway through class you might want to switch sides with the other person. Number one, you have to wait until the instructor comes over to take your place, and then you walk around the horse to get to the other side. So anytime you're switching sides on a horse, you go around the front. One of the things that I like to talk about is when you have the students on board, we'll have one person who's doing the majority of the talking and one person that is more of an assistant. And that is because so many of our students have autism and other issues that too much instruction is too much. So if your horse leader's talking and both sidewalkers are talking and the instructor's talking, some of these kids can they'll either explode or they'll go into themselves. So we try to have limited conversations going on back and forth. Talking to the students is fine. If you are on the non-talking side and your student is supposed to be dropping a beanbag or something on your side, perfectly all right to talk with them, help them get it into the proper hand, that kind of thing. But for giving the majority of the instructions, we leave it up to one person or the other. The one thing that I like to say is it's nice to congratulate the students, but good job doesn't tell them anything. And it's also a very overused term. In your packets that you'll be taking home with you are 99 different ways to say good job. It can be congratulations. It can be you did that really well. But then you have to go one more step. And that doesn't say it in that 99 list. It just tells you other things you can say besides good job. But you'll say, you did that really well. You dropped it with your right hand and you got it into the bucket. Or you're going around a corner. You turned with your left hand. You brought it back to your hip. That was just the way you're supposed to do it. So explaining, yes, they did something right, but what was it? Otherwise, if they've gone a few steps, many of them won't know what you're talking about and what they did well. So anytime you're congratulating them, try to remember to give them what they did. So our first hold is called the therapeutic hold. This one is used for students who are not balanced. Maybe they're brand new. We don't know how well they're going to stay up. Or just, sometimes even just to give them some confidence. But the therapeutic hold goes across the thigh and to here. Now I said don't hold on to the saddle anywhere. At this point you're not grabbing it, but you have a loose touch just to keep yourself in place. So it's not a pressure push, it's just a light hold across the thigh and the hand here. Now when you are walking with your students, you want to be able to look up and see them in the eyes. So if I am back here where I was to show you, I can't see her, so this is too far back. Also, anybody tell me where else I am right here? The kick zone. Don't want to be in the kick zone. So you want to stay about in this position where you're looking up, you can see her smiling face, and you're ready to go. If you're up here, again, you can't see the student, but if you're here, you'll be able to look up and have a good view of what you're doing. So there's our thigh hold. The next one that can be used is a calf hold, and you're just, again, it's not much pressure, but you're just holding on the back of their calf. This one I use for students who might be okay riders, but sometimes at the beginning of class they might be nervous, and this gives them a feel that somebody is there with them. The other one that we can use is a heel hold, which is back here, and if necessary, a heel toe. The student that used to pull her feet off and take her boots off and throw them in the arena is not with us anymore, but we always had to do a double hold on her just to keep her boots on all through the class. But a heel hold is another one where sometimes if the student does pull their foot out of the stirrup, you can help hold it in there a little bit, or again, give them a little bit of pressure and let them know that you're there. So those are your positions so that you can look up and see them. So we've got this saddle happens to have rings. Please don't put your fingers and hold that. some of them have leather straps. I have seen straps wrapped around people's hands. Please don't do that. I really don't like picking up fingers in the middle of the arena. And basically any place on the saddle that you're going to hold is going to put pressure on your horse, so try not to do that. We don't hold the students. We maybe touch them to tell them to ask them to sit up tall, but we don't hold them back around their middle at all. The only hold we do is here, here, and here. Now, if you're working with a student and they don't keep their reins in their hands, and I'm going to move to this side just so you can see, you can ask them to pick their reins up, and she picked them up and did it right. What if they do it wrong? Can you pick it up wrong? Oh, so now we've got them backwards. Well, let's fix that and put it right. So you can go ahead, touch them, hold the reins to do that, that kind of thing. If you are asking them to turn to their left, okay, she did it. That was great. You put your hand back to your hip. That was really good. If they don't do it, you can touch to help them move it. You don't grab them and pull, but you can help them move it. Please don't be down here pulling on the reins, okay? You can do any work you need to do right up here, and you can hold their hand, you can move it. Another thing we do is ask them to put their reins in one hand if they're dropping with the other hand. And then if they aren't doing it, you can help them and help place it, and help them work with that as well. So you can go ahead and touch your student and work with them that way, but you don't want to be really hanging on tight or grabbing the reins as you're doing those things. You can take the reins in order to help them get them in their hands, but don't be pulling on them at all. You're going to take your student from here and bring them to the instructor, who hopefully is, okay, Tuesday and Wednesday the instructor is here waiting for the student. The other days I'm not exactly sure. The instructor would be somewhere in here and they'll let you know how to deposit the student. I take them from right here. And I walk them up to the ramp. At that point, if there's two sidewalkers, one of you will walk this way, one of you will walk this way. Follow me. So half of you go that way and half of you go this way. Okay, so once you've deposited your student, you're going to come around. The people who come to this side, you're going to stand right here at the end of the ramp. You don't want to be here because that's where the horse is going to be. So you want to be here so that as the student comes down, the instructor will be with them. And right here, you'll take over into a therapeutic hold to go out the gate. Today, at least the first time through, we're going to be having the horse go back. We're going to come in, go around, and drop off again so that everybody can see how the drop off goes as well. If you happen to be on the step side, you want to be right here. You don't want to get on the stairs, and we don't want the person on the ramp to have to go down the stairs, because either way it's a dangerous move. But from here you can take over again with a therapeutic hold and walk your student through. So what we're going to do right now is you're going to walk through, we're going to circle and then drop off. So come on back. So when you drop off your student, hopefully the horse will come around this way. The instructor can take this side, and the person on this side can walk off this way and wait. So I would walk with the student up there. The other person will walk until they get to the steps, and then pass it off to the person who's up here, which we don't have, but they are make-believe today. Then after you've dropped the student off, then you come back and wait. And you're going to wait here for the student to come back down the ramp, and then you can get them back into there. Some of our students we lovingly call runners. We try to let you know if you have one, because a runner does need a little more control from the sidewalkers, because we have had them take off into the arena and run all over. We've had them go through and end up way in that pasture. They just, you got to keep an eye on some of them and keep them a little more in tow. And in that case, you would probably hold them by the back of the arm or help them this way, holding them by the arm and helping them forward with the other hand, whatever it takes to get that student safely to either the mounting ramp or the mounting block. So the instructor brings the student down, you pick them up and bring them back out. So let's all go back over there. You guys are going to go by twos. You are each going to take have 2 people with each of the students. And while we're doing, as we're coming in, if somebody could be the gate person, come on over. You guys got to get your students. We're going to have Miss Pam and Miss Debbie. So 2 people come and get Miss Pam, 2 people get Miss Debbie, and we will get them on their horses. All right, let's bring Ranger up. What I usually do is I'll check the horse. I am going to check him because he bloats so bad. I'll check my horses here. Oh. Anytime, baby. I know, you thought you were done for the day, didn't you? Okay, he's good. Bring him in as close as you can. Oh, switch sides. Preferably at a halt. And once he's in place, or once the instructor says it's time to bring the student out, then you may. So let's bring Miss Pam out.
Hello.
Hi there. And then you're going to go that way, and you're going to go that way.
Hi, Ranger. Good boy.
You want to go in and go open the gate and go on in and leave it open for us?
Good boy. All right.
So as soon as, well, the gate's not open yet.
Oh, we're going in.
Oh no, I got to drop it off too. I will drop you off.
Okay.
All right. Let's
Walk
go.
on, Ranger.
Okay, we're gonna walk on, so just give us a second. We're gonna go around because I forgot I have to drop off. Walk on. We're gonna make our circle and drop off.
Walk on, Ranger.
We're just gonna keep going. Careful. Actually, I will meet you at the bottom end.
All right, good boy.
Normally we have a person there, and you want to go down there then once you're down so that you can get your student. And when you're walking him down, you always want the student on the rail side so that you're the one that falls off if it happens. When you are doing anything at the ramp, just keep in mind that it is probably the one place where the horse is going to be more stressed than anywhere else in the arena. Because as I said earlier, they are an animal that's preyed upon. They don't like being squeezed into little areas. So the horse is brought up, is set and ready to go. Your instructor will be over on this side, and you will bring your student to the instructor, and then we usually have an offside person over on that side. If we do not, this is what I'd like you to do, or you'd be asked to do. When there isn't someone over here, and this would only be done with students that are pretty capable, otherwise we wait. But what I'd like you to do is hold this as an offside weight. You're a counterweight over here so that the saddle doesn't go that way when they get on. So if you stand here and hold on tight, I do with 2 hands, and just pull and give pressure from this side so that the saddle doesn't move. You're out of the way, but you're still able to hold on. If you stand here, you likely get kicked in the head, and trust me, it doesn't feel good. So one of you you'd bring the student over here and drop them off. One of you would then wait here. If we had an offside person, the other person would wait here until we're ready for the offside person to leave. Since we do not have an offside person, I'm going to ask whoever's on this side to go over and hold the stirrup to keep the saddle from going over. After the student is on, the sidewalker over on that side will take over from the offside person, and I put them in a therapeutic hold while we walk them over to get their stirrups fixed. So the instructor will likely be here doing this one because the mounting block is in the way. So let's just walk on a little bit. Once we get the student on, we're going to go that way. We walk them here, and we'll get out of the way of the instructor. And if they're going to be bringing in more students, if we go past the exit gate, then there's plenty of room for another step to go in. Okay, stop your horse. Now, this is the other thing that we do. One of the things that happens is if you're here as a sidewalker and the instructor comes in and you don't know where to go, you could wander out here, and then what's happening with your student that you're supposed to be taking care of? There's nobody there. So you wait with your student until the instructor comes in. At that time, you'll just make a quick move and get out of the way right here. You can then be available to help hold feet, because some of the students aren't able to hold their feet up, or whatever the case may be. Once the instructor's here, you let go and you're waiting for the next instruction. When the instructor is done, the foot's in the stirrup, then you move back in, and you're right back in your place. That student has never been left alone for a second, and it works really well. And it lets you know what to do. When I first came, this was something I came up with because I didn't know where to go. And then I end up going back here. Well, you're not supposed to do that because they might kick you. And you don't want to be, just walking away and leaving him alone. So by doing a little stirrup dance, we can do everything, keep the student safe, and go from there. At that time, after this is all done, the stirrups are fixed, then the instructor would give you the information that you need for that student for the day. Okay? All right. We have talking people and non-talking people, and it means not that you're quiet all the way, but the talking person is going to do the instruction part. If there's things that the student is supposed to be doing, or if they're supposed to be turning to the left or to the right, the person who's doing the talking will take care of that and it doesn't have to be one side or the other. It doesn't matter which side you're on. It could be either one. If the instructor doesn't tell you who should be doing the talking, ask them. If the instructor doesn't tell you what she wants to do or what kind of a hold your student needs, ask the instructor. Please do never, never, never be afraid to ask the instructor anything. It is much better than asking someone else who may not know the answer but will give you one anyway. It could be the wrong one. So be sure and talk to your instructor if you have questions of any kind. One of the things I like in the sheet and in the information, it says, in the arena, the instructor is in charge. So that's the best person to go to no matter who the instructor is. Ask them if you have any questions. So Miss Pam is doing pretty well. She started to learn her left turns and her right turns. She will need help as she's weaving through things to help her remember which way she's supposed to go. So if you need to reach up and if she's not moving her left arm for a left turn, you can reach up and touch and say left. Or if she needs a little more help, you can even move her arm back for her a little bit and help her understand. Show them a right and a left turn, please. So you see the right hand, for the right turn, the left hand goes forward, the right hand goes back to the hip. For a left turn, it's just the opposite. For walk on, we bring our hands forward. For a woe, they should come back to the hip. We get a lot of armpit and shoulder pullback. So number one, the reins should be shorter if they can do that. And the other, try to get them to come back to their waist and not up in the air. Okay? So when they are doing beanbags or rings, you want to have them dropping the beanbag or ring with the hand that's on the side where the bucket or the cone is. When they do that, they should be putting their reins completely in the other hand. This is something that is a difficult concept for many of the students, and so you have to work with them on it sometimes every time that you're doing the switch. Make sure that she knows what you're doing. The other thing I highly recommend is that you not ask your student, do you want to do such and such? Because in most cases, these students will say no. So your best bet is to say, we are going to, or let's go, something like that, but don't give them options because they'll either take none of them or they will not take the one that you're offering. So the best bet is to tell them what you're going to do, not if they want to do it. Okay. When we have beanbags and rings, you'll notice that they're all colors. Some of them have numbers, some of them have letters. But we've got colors of rings, we've got colors of beanbags. You can say, Miss Pam, could you pick the orange beanbag? Oh, what color is that?
Green.
That's green. There's the orange one. Work with them on their colors. If you have ones with numbers or letters, you can even ask them to see what number you want them to pick out. Or if they pick one out, what color is that, Miss Pam?
Blue.
Very good. And you can ask them to throw the blue beanbag into the purple bucket or whatever the case may be. So use your colors, use your numbers, use things like that. I'll give you 1, I'll give you 2. The other thing is be sure and use the words. For our horses, we say walk on and whoa. We say walk and trot. You may have a student that is not communicative at all. Still use the words. We have had students that do not speak who have spoken. The first word one of our students said was walk on. That was the first word he ever said. And it was only after maybe 3 classes or so. And I asked him to tell his horse to walk on, and he did. That same day, he told his horse to whoa when he was supposed to. He also, for the first time, told his mother that he loved her. Working with the words with your students is crucial so that they can understand and maybe come out of their shell themselves or just learn how to say them. Now, I have another student who I say, tell your horse to walk on, and she says, go! Very loudly and very emphatically, but that's her word for walk on. That's okay, but I still ask them to tell her to say walk on. And the other thing is if it's time to stop, make sure you say, you can say, what do you say to your horse to stop? And they'll go, whoa. Or if they don't, you can say, tell your horse to whoa and have them say the words if they can. If they are sometimes talking, sometimes not, encourage them to use the words. So if the horse is not moving, make sure that they are telling the horse to walk on if you know that they can. And don't let the horse leader take over and do the walk on until they've done it or you're ready to move on. You can ask the horse leader to move. Some of our students just move their hands a little or move their feet a little. You learn what their cues are and use those. But you still use the words, okay? So Miss Pam is going to be working on her lefts and rights. I'd like you to take her through the cones and the bean bags and the buckets and work on those, and then we will do a quick trot after that so that you get the feel of what that is. While you're doing the cones, whichever one you do first, do a therapeutic hold. For the second group, she'll probably be in better shape and you can just do a calf hold. Yep, but the first time through, I want a therapeutic so that you get the feel of what that's like. All right, so what I would say, yeah, Miss Pam, ask your horse to...
Can you ask your horse to walk on?
Walk on, Ranger.
And very good, you told your horse to walk on, that was great. One of the things that I do not like to have done in the arena is if your student has dropped a beanbag, whether it went into the bucket or not, or onto the cone or not, you leave it there. Because if I'm here, move please. If I'm here with a student and they need a therapeutic hold, and I have to bend down to get a beanbag, what's happening to our student? They don't have anybody there and they could fall over. So when you are with a student, and sometimes they won't like it that they can't try it again. So you have to make sure that you talk to them, well, we'll try it again the next time, that was a good try. Whatever it takes to get them to move on to the next cone or bucket to try it again. So we're going to let you start out with beanbags and rings. She is learning her lefts and rights, so she may need a little help on that. Sometimes she throws her reins away, and we have to help her get them picked back up, and tell her to pick them up and put her hands on the yellow. So, Miss Debbie, on the yellow, very good. Both hands on yellow. There you go. Try to make them be even with their reins so that they're not pulling on the horse in one way or the other. If we have a student that pulls too much on the horse's mouth, we'll often hook the reins here so that they aren't pulling on the bit. And Miss Chris, would you be our talker, please? Sure. Okay. So you're going to, when you do the talking, you'll say, Miss Debbie, we're going to go to the red cone and go around it and weave down the cones, and then we're going to go weave up the buckets. What I have just done by telling Miss Debbie what we're doing is that the horse leader has also heard where you're going. You, as sidewalkers, are in charge of what the student is doing. Our horse leaders are only in charge of their horses. They should not be, unless there are no sidewalkers, they should not be involved with the student because their job is to keep the horse in its place and doing what it's supposed to do. The sidewalkers are the ones involved with the student and getting them to do things. So, as the talker, you need to make sure that your horse leader knows where to go next. We line up for dismount. The horses are brought in to about where the lights are, which the instructor, the horse leader should know this, but at least you know where you're headed. And then they line up in a row this way. So when it's time for them to come off, I'm going to ask you to move, and I'll take over. And you can just wait right there. You may need to help her right leg come over the back. Okay. And then you're going to come over here so that you can both take care of her. Okay, so lean forward, up and over. Oh yeah, you're doing it that way. Then you take your suit. Now, once they are off the horse, it's time to have them thank their horse and their horse leader, and then you take them out of the arena.
Thank you, ladies.
So when you're doing the trot, you're not going to be grabbing on real hard, even though it's hard not to, but stay with your student, and you get to feel what it's like, okay? So tell her to walk on. There we go. And walk. Can you line up for dismount, please? Okay, now once you're at dismount, the instructor comes over. You don't let the student get off before the instructor's here. You can move, I'll come in, you can move back, just back up a little bit out of the way because your student's going to come off and you're going to help them say their goodbyes. You may have to help the other leg go over. Are you just going to get off?
I just want this one in. No,
you want that one in? Okay. Yep. You also make sure that the other foot's out of the stirrup, and then you come around. Because especially with your runner here, you want to make sure that you're here. And we say our thank yous to the horse first.
Oh, Spirit.
When you are the sidewalkers and you have a student that is working with the horse, help the horse leader keep their hands out of the orifices. They love to stick their fingers in mouths, noses, eyes, and ears. So we try to have them not do that. A couple things that you need to know. No long earrings. Chris, next time, no dangly earrings, okay? They can grab at them, and that could be really bad, so don't wear dangly earrings. Necklaces, if you are wearing them, need to be tucked in for the same purpose. Some of these students like to grab onto bright, shiny things, and they are some very strong, and they can pull them off, they can hurt you or break your jewelry. The other thing, who had it? Sunglasses on top of your head. If you don't mind them being taken off your head and thrown into the arena and have to be left there, I would highly recommend you not put them on top of your head because they like things like that. They also like ponytails. They also like hats. Now, I'm not saying you can't have any of those things, but just be aware of the fact. If something does happen to come off, because I've seen them take people's glasses off, let the instructor know that they're in the arena so nobody walks on them, but you cannot, what? You can't go back for them. I'm sorry, even if they're $300–400 pairs of glasses, I'm sorry. They cannot you cannot leave your student to go take care of your glasses. So you'll have to make sure the instructor knows, or someone can go and pick them up for you. One of the other things that can happen is that the students can grab onto your hair. And again, they can get pretty tight on there. And that's why I'm saying ponytails, because they will grab onto them now and again. If that happens, you can undo them, have the horse leader stop. If you can't get yourself untangled, you're going to have to get the horse leader over there to help you. Another thing, I apologize, I forgot to mention in the middle, but it's fine here. We have one thing which is called an emergency halt. An emergency halt can be called by anyone for any reason that they feel is an emergency. If they got a hold of your ponytail and you couldn't get them unwound from that, and you can't get the instructor's attention, call an emergency halt. Now, when you do an emergency halt, this arena is very large. It can have 8 horses and a whole bunch of humans in it, and 3 big fans going, and things don't travel very far. So an emergency halt is, emergency halt! That can't be heard down there. So if you hear an emergency halt, pass it on until everyone has heard it, everyone stops. At that time, the horse leader will get in front of the horse, and you will all go to a therapeutic hold. Regardless of the student's capabilities, you go to a therapeutic hold. And you stay that way until an all clear is given by the instructor. So if you call an emergency halt, if you need to, it can be because you can't get the instructor's attention and you need them now. So you get the instructor to come over and help you untangle, or whatever the case may be, if that's all it is. Now, if a student has fallen off of a horse, an emergency halt is called. If it is your student, you are to help the student, be calm, go with them, be with them, but try to not help them up. Do not take their helmet off. Be with them and help them be calm. The instructor will be there as quickly as possible to take care of anything else that needs to be done. If we have to call in emergency vehicles, we may ask the horses to turn around and face the driveway so that if the emergency vehicles are coming down, they usually don't come in with sirens or lights flashing, but the last time they did come in with lights flashing, and the horses need to see that coming at them. Your instructors will let you know what we're going to be doing. Are we going to be getting all the students off? Are we, whatever the case may be. So your job at this point is to keep your students calm on their horses and wait for the leaders, your instructors' instructions. If there is, let's say there's another emergency halt, can be if a student has jumped off a horse and they're running around in the arena. It has happened. You call an emergency halt. Everyone has to come to a complete halt and you get in position. If that student comes up to you and you are with a student, would you help hold that student waiting for someone to come get it? No. Why?
You're leaving your other student.
Exactly. So you want to make sure that you stay with your student. Somebody else is going to take care of that student. Same with a loose horse in the arena. That horse maybe loves you and they'll come over and snuggle with you, but you've got to stay with your student. And you don't want to be holding on to a horse and a student and get pulled apart and maybe pulled to the ground. So you have to be really careful with that.